Hello and welcome back. Welcome back to my channel, or our channel, The Shared Space. This is a natural connection with a shaman. So, this video today is going to discuss the 7th Goetia, Amon. What we're doing is giving a breakdown of what these metaphorical demons represented and why would an alchemist work with them. So alchemy was very hush-hush, right? It wasn't allowed in many of the years, and mostly for reasons that could keep. If everybody knew these secrets back in those days, there would be no need for a church or a monotheist practice or political reasons. So it was really a lot of control that hid these things. So we're diving through and dissecting what they actually meant when an alchemist would hand you a sigil. These are just simply alchemical symbols that describe the process of the work needed to be done. Let's see here. Let me give you an example really quick. Okay. A lot of things were just symbols. Each symbol had a meaning for something. This is how you do this. This is what I did in this particular instance. Dots, numbers, different letters. For instance, you see the symbol of Saturn? Well, that comes off of this magical square right here. It's a witch's sigil maker, right? But all it really is, hey, work with Saturn this week, right? We're not working with Saturn this week. We're working with the moon. So I'll show you a moon one. Jupiter. Mercury is always complex. Tables of the moon. Okay, these are ciphers. If you're not familiar with ciphers, let's just stick with Saturn's because it's very simple, right? You write 1 through 9, A through Z, and it all follows underneath the letter, right? So now you remove vowels and you remove repeating numbers or repeating letters from something you're trying to say. And then you follow it along on your little sigil graph. Okay? It's a cipher, so it's the same thing as this. A cipher. Hey, this is the work I suggest you could do this week. It's a good time. Today's the 3rd quarter moon. Great to drop in. 3rd quarter moon in the cycles of nature represents a time when rotten or ripened, because it's still good, ripened fruit falls from the tree to the earth, right? Well, what happens there? The overripe fruit that wasn't going to make it for the long haul dissolves into the ground, fertilizing the soil, giving nutrition back to the plant, and then the seeds would sink down into the soil, sprout, yada, 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 right? 3rd quarter moon, perfect time to nurture what you have growing. We'll get into it later, but I'm going to discuss this right now because the process of this is dissolution, dissolving something in liquids. So hidden within this sigil is little notes that say a physical application to this could be to dissolve something in liquids, using silver because you're working with the moon, wolf symbology, Grand Marquise symbology, serpent symbology, raven symbology, symbology of man, personifications, powers and abilities, metals, incense, and element. Okay, all of that is in here. If you want to know how, well, you gotta do your homework and find out how these symbols are in this sigil. But it's a process of alchemy. Alchemy was about transmuting negative aspects of yourself into more quality aspects of yourself. Lead to gold, right? That's why all of the Notoria are gold, because it's higher consciousness. So for the process today, I've gotten some rosemary. Rosemary was used in ancient times as an extract that they would drink in a teaspoon, and it was for loosening up the amniotic fluid in your mind and allowing the the neurons to fire better, controlling the fluidity and adaptability of your mind, or to what are those things called, or to stop aneurysms, like to help dissolve aneurysms, right? But it's good for all kinds of good shit. Calms your mind, helps you breathe, it clears your sinal paths, it helps your third eye work if you drink rosemary water. And speaking of that, crown chakra, your third eye kind of, it just means meditation and ability to see things like faces in trees, clouds turning into angels, or animals, or men or women, spirit messages, right? So once your third eye is open, it's easy for your crown to see the spiritual world, right? So rosemary is a very good herb for working with that. I have here some colloidal silver. Now we're going to get into why dissolving a little later. Colloidal silver and some freshly squeezed lemon juice from real lemons, just for the acidic breakdown. Just a little bit, because this one here, oops, got on my papers. This one here will sit 40 days and 40 nights before it's touched. The full alchemical process of dissolving herbal bodies into fluids. What happens is the essence or the soul of the bodies, the herbs, will extract into the water. In other words, the plant will swell. Once it swells, all of the microscopic veins and things open up, and the essential oils bleed into the water, leaving you with spiritual fluids. Tastes good. And since we're working with digestion, colloidal silver is good for you anyways. This colloidal silver comes from my girlfriend's holistic and metaphysical spiritual shop called The Natural Closet. So we put this on here. I'm gonna go ahead and use the color green. We will stick it right there. Today is 7/18. So we wouldn't pull this August 27th to 8/27. This is when this will be ready. All the fluids have been dissolved. All the bodies have been dissolved. Spirit has extracted. Now you want to keep this somewhere dark, or, it's easier for me to obtain jars for people who buy cannabis a lot. And I utilize them for my alchemical medicines. And then, so that's why I keep everything in dark. Otherwise, if I was running my own lab, I would have brown colored bottles and cabinets and different things and glassware and crucibles and foundries and gardens, crushers, mortals and pistols and powders and rocks and metals and elements. But for now, I utilize whatever I have. Okay, so let's get into this. Let's put this back. Amon, the seventh Goetia. Color is violet, representing transformation and spiritual development. Crown chakra energy, okay? So, the incense is jasmine. The metal is silver. The planet, the moon. The element, water. Animal symbology is wolf, serpent, raven, man. Said to vomit flames. We'll get into that later. And is a grand marquise, or a marquise. So marquise in the kingdom are people who defend lands from invaders. Amon does not hesitate to kill if attacked. So what this represents is protection from attack while you're doing this alchemical transformation. That could be spiritual, that could be physical, that could be witch hunters, whatever, right? The Marquis are also aristocratic. They participate in cultural, charitable, and social events. We'll get into that later. I shouldn't have put that here. It's way too early. Okay, symbology of the wolf. It is a metal, well, a element, no, it's a metal. Antimony. Antimony. Wolves represent antimony. Antimony represents medicine, flame retardant, so protection from flames. Batteries and technologies, so obviously raising your energy, keep, knowing when to recharge your batteries. And technologies for me always represent the mind, the workings of the mind, when you metaphysically look at things, those with eyes to see. Wolves are symbolic to the process of purifying to gold. Okay, symbology symbolizing the purification to gold process, represents our wild spirit, which needs to be tamed. Wolves represent death and rebirth in spirit and in matter. The serpent in this represents wisdom and knowledge of recorded history, cyclical nature of alchemical work. So alchemy is never a linear process, right? You're going to come back around. I'll be right back. Okay, where were we? Serpents represent wisdom and knowledge of recorded history, cyclical nature of alchemical work, right? So what does that mean? You're going to constantly come back to revise things, right? But in a cyclical coiled type of nature, serpent, right? Because each time you come back, you're a little more evolved. You have think of it in life. You're in life, right? And at first, you're just not fucking good at something, right? So you keep working at it, and then put it to the side, you go about your life, And when you come back to it, you're a little more better, right? Same thing. Cyclical nature of alchemical processes. As the seasons go, each season you learn a little bit more, you have new practices, and you're ascending. As you're transmuting your own unconscious behavioral patterns and thought processes, it's a cyclical pattern. A lot of people think of it as this one and done thing. I'm enlightened, right? And it's over. It's not. You're going to come back to situations that you dealt with and you thought, oh, well, that was the last time I'm going to have to deal with it. Well, no, you're going to have to deal with it again, only you're going to be a little more mature and wiser, right? So, wolf spirit. Alchemical work is based on eternal processes and cycles of nature, right? So what are eternal processes? Well, it's always going to be winter, spring, summer, fall. They're always going to evolve, right? So that's always death, life, birth, death, rebirth, life, birth, blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm saying. The cycles of nature. Winter, spring, summer, fall are always coming. And wolves represent rebirth and regeneration. That's the word I was looking for. Wolves represent one is all and all is one. Mirrors. Mirror in reality. So you see something you don't like, you're obviously looking at something about yourself. This doesn't have to be a I'm rubber, you're glue type scenario. This is some shit like, here's an example. Let's just not use something I dislike, but as I work through some ups and downs in my life, right, I got to a point where I started to see in others the man I was a year prior, right? The mentality, the behavior, the illusion that I was under at that time, at that point in time in life, whatever the hypnotic agenda was that I was incorporating at those periods in my life. And that's what a mirror is. You get to see what you have either evolved from or what you are dealing with right now. Because on the other hand, before I started to like finally come back to myself and feel myself again, I would it would be talking to the man in the mirror, right? Like something stupid I would do, right? And then instantly, like that day or the very next day, somebody would be projecting that arrogance onto me or throwing it back in my face from places I didn't even know. You could be like way off in Timbuktu and just some fucking dude decides, has a blowout in their tire, pulls to the side of the road, and you're like, what the fuck? So mirrors can be showing you things that you've overcome, cyclical nature, or things you're dealing with right now. And that could be both good or bad. It could be positive or negative, but take the negative as something to rather learn from than something to be doom and gloom about, right? What can you do if you're getting everything thrown back in your... Sometimes it's good. For really terrible people, it's really good. If they're behaving unacceptable, it's extremely purposeful for them to have their actions mirrored to them. Have you ever seen somebody throwing a tantrum and you put a mirror up to them so they have to look at themselves throwing a tantrum? Sometimes that's the only way to reach through to people, because they can't see, because they could be caught under Maya, illusion, hypnotic agendas portrayed on us by societal bullshit, upbringing, limited beliefs, and actually no one ever sitting with a person and teaching them things that can be honorable in life, right? So That's serpent wisdom. Healing and protection. Wolf. Wolf spirit. So this is why I can't stand it in movies when they're like the big bad wolf, right? Because whatever. Anyways, next, the raven. Transformative death and decay. Decomposes everything in its path. Symbolizes adaptability. The necessary process for a body and soul to join in transmutation is decomposition. When the body dies and decays, the body and soul, the soul becomes one. The raven represents transmutation and messages from the spirit world. And then finally, the last representation of Amon is man. Man in alchemical practices represents sulfur. This represents activity, fire, heat, and dry evaporation and dissolution. This is where we get into the dissolution. Dissolving something in fluids, right? So, also, since we're dissolving something in fluids, a good way to dissolve things from your body is use the sulfur, activity, exercise, making you sweat, heat, fire, sweat lodge, sun, be out in the sun, pour sweat, get some evaporation coming out of your body, sweat away toxins or whatever's going on in your life. I don't know. So the personifications of Amon is false love and reconciliation of friends and foes, wrath, violence, deception, sorcery, and war. Now, before you go blaming Amon, right? Remember, we are working on this because of ourselves. Everyone has these personifications within them in one way or another. There's people that you falsely love, right? There's people that you probably made an enemy out of, or they made an enemy out of you, but truly it's not all that bad. You probably have wrath. You've probably been mean to people. You've decepted others. You've wished bad sorcery on others, or outright war. This could be a screaming, I'm going to do this to them, they're going to do this to me, back and forth bullshit game, right? So these are the personifications we're working on to dissolve. The powers and abilities of Amon are agility, action. There we go with that action again. Get moving, get agile, right? Intelligence, knowledge of the past, and the ability to foresee. So before we go further, foresee the future. Before we go further there, let's really look at that. What I just talked to you about, cyclical nature, serpent, and mirror. If you keep coming to a path and you're seeing the person you were in a year's time ago in another being mirrored to you, well, this is a recognition of the past. If you're so if you keep noticing things like that, you can understand where you're going from here, the future, right? So there we go. There we go there. Another power and ability of working with Amon is working on your psychic power, right? Now, psychic power, if you ask Carl Jung, is about using your mind the correct way, the proper way to focus your will and intention and energy, speech as well, towards positive agendas. If you are talking about psychic, like, yes, I hear people fucking talk to me, or I can see things that will happen in my dreams that do happen, or I've heard this scenario play out and now it's happening, or flat out being able to read a person. You don't always have to hear every thought in their head. This is where people get this confused amongst psychics. Facial features, nervous tics, body movements, how they walk, how they talk, how they hold themselves, carry themselves. Different things in the face can help you describe a person's inner dialogue, right? Psychic powers. He has the power and ability to make men and women fall in temporary love, right? So watch out for that. This is you yourself. You're working with your own unconscious. You're not working with a fucking demon. You're working with your own unconscious. So when it's working with this type of energy and you know about, making the other sex of whatever you are fall in love with you, what that's talking about is your lust for others. Okay? And this, working with this portion of your unconscious mind will help you detect enemies that are close to you and know their true strengths or weaknesses. What did I just say? Reading people, reading their actions, behaviors, cyclical patterns, recognition, reflection, understanding, seeing how weak they really are or how strong they truly are. Are they a threat? Are they a danger? Are they just annoyance? Etc. These are the things you'll be able to unlock and untap by working with this portion of the unconscious mind. Now you want to work with silver, hence the colloidal silver during this week. Silver represents purity, clarity, intuition. Here we go with reflection again. Intuition is like that. I know I can sense that this is going to happen because I've seen it so many times throughout my life. I see it. It's intuitive. It's something I just know is going to happen, right? And reflection is reflection on yourself. So this could be the world around you mirroring. Like, it wouldn't even matter if you turned the television on and randomly held down the channel button and then just randomly let go. Boom, you're going to hear exactly what is needed to be reflected to you. You can do the same thing with shuffling through the radio station dials in your car. It's always going to be a reflection to you this week. You scroll on YouTube, it will be a reflection to you this week. You go in society, it will be a reflection to you this week. Now, whether or not that's a positive or negative experience to you is your own inner works reflection. So, hoping you the best with the positive work, but don't be afraid of the negative things that are being reflected to you. Just digest it. Getting into the digestive system. Silver represents the digestive system and alchemical processes. It represents healing and inner transformation. Okay? So digest your reflections to purify and find clarity in your situation and use your intuition as your guide. You'll be working with the moon, hence their third quarter moon. Moon represents silver, feminine. Feminine doesn't have to be a gender or sexual indication. It can mean all of the aspects of femininity, right? So look into that because we're doing other things right now. Moon represents reflection, your unconscious mind, and phases and stages of growth. Cyclical nature, serpent, right? That lead to manifestation. But here we're going to emphasize on phases and stages of growth. Reflection, boom. It's going to reflect back to you. What are your phases? What are your stages? Are you growing through them or are you putting them off? Moon energy, third quarter moon. Nurture your tree with the dead bodies. Decomposition, ravens, dead bodies decompose into the earth, fertilize the tree. Okay, wolf, transform, purify, cleanse, lead to gold. Okay, you can work with jasmine during this week. Jasmine helps enhance moods for love, sensuality, and desire, but also in meditation processes, they can help you with purifying your mind, tapping into your feminine nature, helping you meditate properly, finding enlightenment in your meditations, help you healing through the healing process, and it's also a good spiritual incense for protection and enhancing your intuition for inner peace. So you'll be working with water, obviously, this week. Water, again, see how these things are all boiling down to the same thing? This is alchemical work. All of these things that are in alignment with each other can all enhance whatever you're going through. If you look around right now, you've probably been through some chaotic shit, right? As we go through the weeks, working with these Goetias, you go back a few weeks and you'll notice, even in the astrology, first it was to bring attention to connections and relations that had gigantic elephants in the room that no one spoke on. Then it led into turmoil, and mind you, this is not me casting magic. This is fucking astrological alignments. This is in alignment with the unconscious mind of collective energies of the universe or the world or whatever. Working through the metaphors of the darkness of not no demon, but the unhealthy patterns of everyone on Earth's minds, right? So you might have seen turmoils, conflict, people arguing, separating, fighting, changes of groups, right? So it's like if you were really focused on just bettering your life, you may have found different avenues where, you know what, this has been really good in our lives up until this point, but I see ourselves going this way, right? Like it just seems this is what resonates. This is what feels more natural to us, right? So like for an alchemist, right? Let's put it like this. It's like, do I want to go around people that are always downplaying anything that is of the intelligent study, discipline, leading to a higher mind, better conversationist? Do I want to stay in areas that are downplaying that and mocking it and, you know, negative speech on it? Or do I want to go where other people communicate these processes? They celebrate the same things that we find. So if this is what's been going on, this is it. But now here we have, now that the chaos and storms have went on, are there actual connections that are reconcilable? Be open to that possibility. Working with all of these together is helping you process through your own emotions, tame your own savageness, and purify your inner self to make that decision yourself. So water, emotions, intuition, purification and cleansing, dissolution, unconscious mind, dissolving unconscious patterns, fluidity, being more adaptable, right? Adaptability, fertility, and creation. Moon, it's very fertile. It nourishes the land. You grow crops by giving them water, right? Crops create fruits for you to consume, healthy. This symbology of Amon contains all of the intuition, psychic knowledge, and emotional intelligent characteristics, and suggests layers and layers of purifying these processes. This places focus on work to dissolution of emotions, your own emotions. Okay, you're not trying to cast magic on others. You're trying to alchemize your own unconscious patterns to see your world around you. Once you dissolve or dissolve the emotions that are holding you hostage from a better outcome in life, then you're able to dissolve psychic barriers of one's past, present, and the future. What do we say about reflection and cyclical nature? Seeing versions of you that were in the past through others, how you are today, the present, and with an understanding of how you came from there to here, knowing where you're going from here on. Once you dissolve your emotions, you dissolve the psychic barriers blocking you from seeing all of this in your reality. Once you've dissolved all of that, you can dissolve the strife between friends and foes by taming your own savage nature. The solution, if you want something to symbolize this, it's a good, all things in alchemy or magic or manifestation are to compile everything you can in alignment with what you're doing, that align with lunar, astrological, the quintessence of the spirit world, right? So you want to work with Venus, you want to get copper, you want to work with greens and herbs and delights, you want to work with the moon, you gather silvers, lots of things. You follow Moon Day, like Moon Day would have probably been a good day for this video, but I'm on the third quarter moon. Moon is mind, unconscious mind, emotions, all things about it, symbology, all of these compiled. So if you want to amplify whatever you're working through, dissolve something in water. It doesn't have to be rosemary, it could be whatever you want. The more energy you gather towards your intent, I don't know about you, but I see the magic. It's all over the world. Once you lock into these divine alignments, heavenly assistance is visible, obvious, and apparent. And all it takes is for you to follow through with what you've requested. So why go through all this process? Because you want to become Achaiya, more enlightened gold, more aware gold, using your higher mind, better thought process, better emotional process, better viewing, seeing, comprehending, understanding of things, and instill patience. So once you've worked through Amon, you get to the patient God, gold status. Remember, silver to gold. Wolf in alchemical terms also represents the wolf eating the sun so that it can burn to ashes and purify the gold, right? What comes out of it is gold. The wolf being silver swallows the sun, which means gold, throws on the fire melts it together, it's a higher quality gold. So, Achaiya instills patience as a virtue. Now, you may become partly static and passive. This is essential. It's essential for you to calmly, lucidly assess problems so that you can find or you can see better ways in problem solving and solution seeking rather than the opposite. The calm you will need to actively open new paths in life and resolve what is already unresolved in your life at this time. It is suggested to study and learn during this time, concentrate, and not be impatient, not be lazy, not be ignorant. And in so being able to know the secrets of nature, or understanding how I just said all of these things together. If you can't see the magic of the spirit world aiding and assisting you throughout these processes by now, you probably need to go all the way back to the beginning with Baal and start over. Okay. Let's see, where were we? The secrets of nature. And learn useful subjects in the arts and sciences. Achaiya can make your work or business popular and turn your enemies into your friends instead of silencing them or trying to cause harm to each other. But you must be open to the possibility of seeing if they could be heard and resolved, then become a friend or not. So during this process, there's a lot of Jupiter and Mercury in Taurus energy. So this is what that means. A heavy focus on material comfort and wealth, but the potential to overspend and obsess on possessions. This is a good time to enhance communication and your desire for knowledge, but be wary to mind impulsiveness. Working with the moon, we have the pentacles of the moon 1 through 6, okay? Here is what I wrote for an incantation for this. Underworld God, guardian of my unconscious mind. Underworld God, unlock the door to divine consciousness and protect me as I cross the threshold. And upon my journey from all attacks and danger, including evil sorcery and injury to my body or soul, without limits. I travel through this realm in seek of Sophiel's wisdom and true purpose to be shown to me in dreams and in directions of the fourth dimension. If you don't know what I mean by the fourth dimension, then you will. So anyways, that's what I have for you today on Amon, the wolf, snake, raven, man, the unconscious patterns of dissolution, dissolving one's emotions, taming the savage beast in you so that you can live a happier, healthier life and make better decisions. All right, that's it for today. See you next week.